Hi, my friends. Welcome. This is the Back to Me podcast, and this is Heather, and I am super excited that you're here. You are going to hear some tips and some tricks and some ideas to help you live your happiest and healthiest self. I call it Back to Me because when you are taking care of yourself, back to me, then you can take better care of others, and we can all make the world a better place. This is Wellness Your Way, and I am super happy that you're here. Hello, my friend. I hope you're having an excellent day. This is Heather. Welcome to another episode of the Back to Me podcast, where we are going to talk about all things wellness, all things that are going to help you feel better, or maybe someone you know. Remember, you can always share it with someone you know. Sharing is caring, my friends. And today I am talking to Monifa Harris, the Vocal Alchemist. And Monifa, I have to tell you, I don't know what a vocal alchemist is.
Well, my specialty is confusing people, so that's fine.
Okay.
I figured I might as well go all out in the confusion land because when I say I'm a voice confidence coach, they still don't know what I mean. So I might as well have fun with it. But it is my ability to teach people how to use their voice to create new things in their lives or to have a new way of showing up and sharing themselves and coming into full self-expression. So it means a lot of things to me, but mostly it means that there's a way of using voice as a power to create change in your life.
That's very cool. And my mind goes to a few things like, being able to speak up for yourself, but also the magic of words as actually being able to create on what people would consider kind of the woo-woo metaphysical side. But before we go there, because I'm always super curious, like, wait, this will make you stay tuned. But wait, there's more. How did you come to decide, or what was your path to become a vocal alchemist? I like that better than competence. It sounds cooler.
It's so cooler. Yeah. For me, I always say it's a long road. It's always the long road. But it was really when I decided to take back my power of voice. It's when I was in opera and I was in the opera world and I was trained very well. I was trained to be a good child. I was trained to be a good student. I was trained to be a good singer. And so I was following all of that training very strongly. And it was just this moment when I was auditioning for the San Francisco Opera Chorus and I was in the bathroom and I was going to change out of my like travel outfit to my audition outfit because you need to represent as a certain kind of character when you go in, right? So I had to put a dress on. That's just the way it goes. And I was like, wait a minute though. I'm cute though. I like my little pantsuit. I don't think I need to change anything here, right? And then it just became like this existential moment where I was just like, why am I changing what I like, that I really like it, for this idea of what is right, And it became this cascade after that of how I was using my voice to please other people and waiting on their, permission to feel good about it and to honor it and to value it. And I was like, no, I value my voice for myself. I'm doing what I want to do with my voice. That should be all that matters. And I'm tired of trying to play like I think something different for you people, right? So it became this like crazy just coming out of this framework of society to I am who I be and I like who I am, right? And then it became harnessing that power to make myself feel good. And I started remembering all the ways in which my voice supported me, but I always was criticizing it because of what I thought others would think about it, like the audition panel and all that stuff. And then I realized I was already creating magic with my voice. And wasn't that much cooler than getting this gig, right? And so that was kind of how it came in. But then it also became how I don't think of voice as just voice. I think of it as a magical thing because yeah.
Right.
And it creates the sound that creates the world. All the sounds that created the world, including the one in the Bible, were spoken, right? Like if you
Yeah.
hear, and they do continue to speak them, right? And some believe if you stop making these sounds, that there will be no earth, there will be no world, right?
Right.
So it to me is magic, and it's a matter of owning that power that you already came in the world with, and becoming that alchemist, to deciding how you want to use it to create things.
That's so crazy. It's funny because I go to the opera. It never occurred to me that they wouldn't be like, it's just such a different way to view it. It never occurred to me that they wouldn't necessarily feel like they were honoring their voice by standing up there and playing a character. But
Oh, it's never the performance, right? It's never the art.
right,
It's the people that run the show
right.
that are paying you, that allow you in. It's the
Yeah.
gatekeepers.
Are
Yeah.
you allowed to come and play in this sandbox? Are
Yeah.
you good enough to play in that sandbox? And then judging you if you're good enough to play in that sandbox, then I guess you're trying to conform to what they think you should be. Wow. Do
Yeah.
you still
In
sing?
order to just get in. I do. I sing mostly for myself. I call it channeling most of the time. But
It is
yeah,
a
I'm
bit,
starting to
right?
get back out there. I sang a couple times this year for an actual audience. So it's starting to shift again. But for a long time, I was like adamant, my voice, I was just going to only sing for myself. And if somebody asked me to sing, I was going to say no, because they don't deserve. Because a long time that I felt like it was my responsibility, because I was talented, to share my voice and
Right.
give it away. And it was this story that I was like, no, I refuse. Like, this is my voice. It's for me.
That's so interesting. Yeah. It's just something I never really thought of. But
Yeah.
and then you mentioned, these sacred words that people think if they stop making like the sound of Om or move the readings that the universe ends. I was in India and I went to the Golden Temple, and that chant is 24 hours a day. It never stops because it's like we got to keep it going, got to keep the world together, or chaos will reign. Thank you for doing that for us. Right.
Yeah, they have shifts and everything. It
Right.
is a serious thing, and they aren't the only ones. This is like there's seats around the world that have monasteries. This is what how most people would see it, but have groups that is their only function, is to keep the world in vibration through sound.
Wow.
Um, and so yeah, so there's not it doesn't come from just one culture. It comes from several cultures.
Right.
So it's embedded in our human being understanding how it who it what it means to be human.
So
So yeah.
interesting. So interesting that it could cross so many cultures. So I sometimes I go a little metaphysical. I'm like, so does that mean they actually are holding it together? What if they stopped? Oh my God. Okay, let's not go there.
Please, that's
Stop. Keep singing. We love you.
well, I think at minimum it's just being grateful, right? That there are people that not only feel that responsibility, but show up for it, and that they continue to show up, and that they love us so much that
Right.
they're continuing to do this work. And so, whether it's absolutely true, but to me, like all worlds are true. It's a matter of perception to create the reality. And so it's just a matter of like, are we valuing each other to me,
Right.
and I highly value it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I went to the Golden Temple and listened to them for a while. So I'm like, thank you, my friends. And yeah, it's beautiful. And it's interesting. We can use our voices for so much beyond what we imagine. So when you're doing vocal alchemy with people, are you helping them access that magic? I guess I imagine you're helping them access the magic of what their voice can do for themselves. And I had this conversation just yesterday with a friend of mine. Um, if you are not in a place where you are fully accessing your own power, and your own power is full. You're depleted and you don't have anything to give other people. So I feel like that's connected to voice as well.
It's so connected because that's where we have to start. If you don't have, if you're not gathering your own resource of what's within you and what's possible for you in your space, in your body, in your space that your body occupies, then it's going to be tough to create anything. And so that we start actually at the point where we're acknowledging that we have that power. That may not feel like we've had that power in the past, and that may feel like our voice has betrayed us in the past. But let's see also like what it has done, right? And it is a type of relationship building, because what I'm really doing is building the confidence of what's already there. I have a phrase that I say that your voice is perfect, right? And it's like one of those things I wish I could hang on a table where people would come up and be like, "What are you trying to say?" You know, like like they would argue with me, because I would so go in for that argument.
Right?
Like,
Well,
this is perfect. And in the same way, I'm sure you've had people come on and talk about how your body is already perfect. Like, even if you're having health crises, that it's not because the body's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's actually because it's doing more of what it's supposed to be doing, and it's causing
right,
problems and depletions. And it's the same thing with the voice. The voice is just trying to tell you what's really going on. And it's really just trying to fill the gap of the vibration that we aren't perceiving yet, right?
right,
And so if it's not doing what you want, it's not that it's wrong or that you're wrong or that your voice can't do it. It is that we aren't connected fully with our body, and it's the power of the voice, right? So, which is, how does it function? And so it's a
right,
matter of building confidence. It's not just like kind of empty confidence. This is, how are you feeling literally? How do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about your voice? And then that's where the true magic lies, right?
right. And your voice conveys more than the words that you're speaking. Because I'm just remembering, I was listening to a podcast for someone else, and he was talking to someone who was a voice coach, I think she was. And she was talking about, when you're speaking, people can tell whether you're just talking or whether it's coming from somewhere. Like the vibration behind it is different. That's so
Yeah.
fascinating to me.
And that's what I try to get across to people. Like, people are like, "You're a voice confidence coach. What do you do? Do you help people write a better speech?" No, no, no. I'm a voice coach, right? So, because it's not the words. You can get the words exactly right. They can be actually the perfect words for your audience. But if we aren't aligned to them and we aren't in access to our power when we speak them, people will not hear you. And it's
Right,
not because you're wrong, right? It's not because you didn't get it right. It's because we're not in the place of connection that allows for the transmutation of power, which is how we get impact, which is how we are memorable, which is how people can tell if we're authentic. So,
right,
like, people like us, like empaths that are super sensitive, are, whether you know it or not, half of that is hearing. Like, it's, you're already picking up on these discrepancies, which is what makes us feel so uncomfortable with people who aren't kind of doing the work to be aligned to their truth, right? Because we're just like,
right,
I hear you and I think you believe what you're saying, but it doesn't feel good, and I don't
right.
know if I can trust you,
Something's
right?
not right. Yeah.
And
So
we
it's
just
so
haven't
interesting.
refined like what we're hearing yet. But that's kind of part of what I'm doing too, is I'm refining how we understand the way we listen, right?
Right,
So that we're able to, for me, it took a long time to kind of filter out. I hear a lot. And so it took me a long time to filter out the things that I don't necessarily need to be hearing all the time. And then, like, to focus in onto the thing that I want to hear, tune into, be present to, aligned with, right? And so that's part of the skill that I'm teaching as well, is I'm really helping people develop that intuition of what does it mean to hear correctly, which is another concept
Right.
I kind of hate, but that's the way people think about it. And and then to be able to enter either into the conversation or at least into the dynamic of the vibration so that we don't feel like we're outside the bubble, so to speak, all the time. But yeah, that's another thing. You can't hear wrong, guys. I can't leave it alone. Um, you can't
Go with it.
hear wrong. Like if you're hearing it, then, you know, be grateful because not everybody can hear it. Number two, you're hearing it the way you hear it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're hearing what you hear the way you hear it. And so don't make that wrong. Just let's understand how it is aligned and not aligned. What are we picking up? Is it really what we want to be picking up? Or we want to
Right.
focus in somewhere else, right? Yeah.
And I guess you forget, like, I hadn't made that there's two parts to it. It's like vocal, you're sharing your voice, forgetting there's that other side, like that receiving piece of it. And you can't control the receiving. All you can control is the energy of the giving and trust that whatever it's supposed to be for that person, it is.
Yeah, I don't like the word control, but we use it a lot because we like it. We want to be in control.
We do.
Right?
No such thing.
So I get it. It's a desire for all of us, and especially for me. But actually, it's the same way you would think of being receptive in energy work. If you've ever done any energy work, yes, you can hear differently, not necessarily that, again, that is something that's other than what you're already doing. It's again just, are we open to the full thing, and are we open to the track that's going to get, like, if you're going into Akashic records, the whole universe isn't useful right now, like we just need the part
Right.
that we're going in for. And so it's more of that. It's more like kind of understanding how to be in place where the information that we're desiring is. But yeah, and listening to, like, so this is really interesting because it brings up the, like, a crux for people that happens where there's some people that can't tell the difference, and I would call it, if you I wouldn't call it, but like you can compare it to the word tone deaf, right?
Right.
Or the concept of tone deafness. And it's this, I'm only hearing what I want to hear, or I'm only hearing the part that makes sense to me,
Right.
right? And then there's another version whereas again, you can read this in energy, like where you're only picking up on other people. You're only picking up on how they're feeling and what's going on with them. And there's no listening to self, right? There's no listening to the core of who you are and what you want. And it's so interesting to me that, like, it's this, like, two sides of the same problem. Is I approach both of those the same way, right? We just have to get to a place where we're actually hearing the truth and, like, in our alignment than what we want to hear or what we're trying to hear as a way of protection is a lot of how
Right.
we develop it. Yeah.
And I guess everything you're listening to is going through the filters that you have built over your lifetime, unless or until you have an awareness of your biases, I guess. And then I guess that's where you're talking about, you untangle what am I actually hearing? This is what they said. Sometimes I think of, like, people who overanalyze. Somebody says I'm fine. Did that mean they were fine? Did that mean they weren't fine? Oh my God. Oh my God, they're mad at me. No, they're fine.
Yeah, they said they're fine. I used to drive myself crazy because I would try to make it into the truth. And because I can hear so much, part of my talent is that I can hear a lot of what's actually happening when you say you're fine. Okay, yeah, you're fine, but only because you're now getting to get to your, daily coffee and you're like in a good place right now. But like, it was taking up so much energy. This is a part of what, a lot of empaths run into, is that it was taking so much energy to hear that, focus in on it, that I was getting drained by being in contact with anybody,
Right.
right? And so it was for me is a lot of work of kind of refining what I'm listening to. It's like, okay, she says she's fine. I will honor that she says she's fine, right?
Yeah.
If I, if I have a question, then I can ask it. But I don't necessarily need to figure out what's really going on behind the fine. Right?
Right.
That's not good use of my energy and or brain right now, which is
Well, then
why
you're
I'm
sending it
switching it.
all out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you're sending all that energy out, trying to take care of everybody else. I mean, this is the Back to Me podcast. So let's focus it. When I say I'm fine, do I mean I'm fine today? You know, it's funny thinking about voices. So, in a former life, I was an accountant way back when, and I always thought my voice was too small. And then I realized, well, I'm not supposed to be an accountant. My voice is perfect for many other things. It just, the vibe of my voice wasn't for the corporate world. It was for something else. And now I have people going, I love your voice. I'm like, really? So you're right. There's nothing wrong with anybody's voice, no matter what you think, right?
Yeah, it's
So
exactly what
amazing.
it's supposed to be. It's exactly what it's supposed to be. And if you want to understand it more, that's my invitation. Like, if you want to understand it more, if you want it to be more dynamic, or if you want to find out, and this is how I think of it, it's like if you want to find out how your voice or you do that, then we can have that journey. But like, let's not make it because there's something wrong with it, right? It's just
Right.
about like wanting to know more about who you are and what your voice can do. And so I love to walk people through that experience because it's my happy place.
Right. So do they practice doing stuff with their voice? I'm like so curious. Do they practice saying things or making
Oh,
noises?
yeah. Like that's always been like, what are we actually doing though? What are we doing?
Right.
But like in the online course, it is the OMance method. It's essentially the 4 steps to help you understand the parameters of your voice so that you can get to know your voice on your own and just keep experiencing it in different ways, as an access point for power and as access point to understand the world and to influence the world, right? And then, and actually in the course, there's actually a vocal creatrix course I like people to take beforehand that gives you more of that understanding of the mindset. Like, again, like, is this, you already have the capability, we're just understanding how, right? And
Right.
then alchemy is about creating the space. The alchemy is about creating transformative space. And so the base of the work is always that OMance method, and then it's about, yes, we're going to either be working directly on your singing voice, or we're going to be working directly on your business voice, or we're going to be
Right.
working directly on your speaking voice, and then understanding how healing and transformation happens on both sides of that coin. um, they're,
I've never heard of this thing. How is it? The OMance method?
Oman's vocal resonance method. So that's mine. I made it.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Good for you. Kudos. High five. High five.
Yes, I created it. It's a 4 step. I mean, the first step, I think you've seen me do before. It's just this breath out, and then it's just all the way out into the earth's essence to feel how your body responds to that works. And then releasing the belly and letting it come back in. So that's that first step. And what that does is it drops us in to our body in this moment and connected and grounded to the earth, right? So we do it. I always do at least 3 of those before I jump online with people. Or, I mean, I've been trained a lot of this, so I don't do it every day now, but I used to
Right.
every single time because I was that person. Like, you, highly dispersed, my mind's everywhere, losing my track of my thoughts all the time, all the time. And it was something that was a practice that kept me able to do life, you know? So it's something I'm highly passionate about because I
Right.
know a lot of us are living in that space of not being able to control the control the dynamic of our possibility of our being able to read energy, discerning that, and then how are we allowing it to settle into something that we can apply that
Right.
can be impactful, right? So
Right.
that's like my whole life, and those
And
my whole life is this
yeah.
thing.
And I think about so many people. So, it's like maybe you're just doing a workshop. Maybe you're just talking to your PTA group. Maybe you are a teacher. Maybe you are a corporate presenter. Like I teach yoga, I teach Tai Chi, I have a podcast. So
Yeah,
all of these things that we use our voice for that people
and
might think, oh,
relationships.
yes,
Yes.
like that personal connection of talking to someone. All of these times we're using our voice and not really necessarily having an awareness of using it, not just the words to communicate, but how you can make what you're communicating go beyond the words, right?
Mm,
So
well, and I think that's so much of what we were talking about
yeah,
before of yeah, like the right words don't necessarily mean the right outcome.
yeah,
Like you can say, no, I really don't, I'm really I'm not worried about it. But like if you're inside, like, oh my God, every time I am angry, like you can say that 10,000 times and somebody who's truly connected to you will not believe you. And they'll think there's a reason why you can't tell them the truth. Or there's going to
right,
be something that is going to make it less of a connection than we
right.
want. So what parts of the truth can we tell and honor, like honor the friendship? And I think it's always the case is we're trying to find that place where we can be and nice, essentially, that we could be nice and loving and still honor how we're feeling and what's true for us,
I always
right?
think of the Mark Manson book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F.
Yeah.
And he's like, honor yourself, but don't be an asshole.
Well, and that's so funny because I'm really into astrology. So I have like two places in my gene keys, and it's the sun sign for my husband that have the key 22, right? And the shadow is dishonor, and the gift is graciousness, and the city is grace. So like what it means to me and what it has meant to me like is huge. It's like how I attract people and it's how I like perceive pain essentially, which is pretty much everybody's pain of how they're not seen and heard
Right,
and the pain that it causes, right? Of separation. And so it's this thing that is always a question for me, like and for a long time I didn't talk at all, or I was very quiet because I didn't want to be the creator of that pain. And I knew for some people it really doesn't matter what you say. It's like anything you say will be interpreted in pain. And so I was like, well, if I can just be a loving presence, then they'll at least know that I accept them whatever's happening, that I accept where they are,
right,
and at the same time, like dishonoring myself and my own emotions because I'm not ever presented or held in that way, at least at that time, because I wasn't giving myself that space, right? And so, and then like that hint of resentment that starts to build in relationships when you're over giving,
yeah,
um, and all of that was my process of like, how do I honor myself and my emotions while also honoring yours?
right,
And so yeah, that's why I always go back to that because I think that is the sweet spot. And we believe that we have to lie or obfuscate or pretend and put on a different mask to get there. And it's not true. There's always a way through, but first we got to trust ourselves. We have to
right,
trust ourselves and our voice and our capacity to love even when we're pissed,
right,
right? All of those things. And it has to be practice. You can't just jump in and like expect that to happen. Like you have to start practicing sharing your emotions. And it's gonna be ugly a couple of times. You're gonna hurt a couple of people's feelings. But if we don't allow it to start the process, then we'll never get to that place where we can do it with a little bit more expertise.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody's perfect at anything the first time they start trying to do it, right? But
Yeah.
just starting to do it, you start to work your way through it and get better and better. And for people who don't know what gene keys are, maybe Monifa will have to come back and we'll have to do a gene keys or something.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, it is.
YouTube. I highly
Yeah,
recommend this.
YouTube.
I actually talk about it on YouTube. I have several keys on there, and then I do the transits, new moon, and full moon. Actually, I'm going to do one today. So,
Yeah, isn't it today's the new moon, right?
new moon in Cancer. Woo, woo.
Right.
It's my birthday
So
month.
just so people don't think that it's like today, the day you're listening to it, it's
That's
July.
true.
It's
It's
July
true.
right now, and it's the new moon. But don't worry, you can scroll back to July and see how you were feeling that day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Totally, totally.
I
Um,
think it's a pattern. I think it's a
right,
pattern, and picking up on those patterns is part of the work. It's part of recognizing how energy wants to flow and how to tune into it. So, yeah, find out.
right.
What were you feeling
And
today?
everybody's got a different way to do it. So giving yourself permission to be your voice, not somebody else's. I think that's pretty awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And you have a freebie on your website. What is that? I didn't ask you what that was.
The freebie, right? I didn't. It's the 24-hour voice recovery. It's a PDF, and it essentially is about a story about me almost losing my voice. Well, kind of losing my voice before the night before I was supposed to sing Carmen, and so it's a little bit of a story, a little bit about what I did to be able to sing it the next night, and so.
That's an intense opera for you to be losing your voice. Oh my God.
Exactly. Exactly. It wasn't the whole opera, you know, but
But
but it was enough of it that it was quite frightening. Yeah.
right. Oh my goodness. And yeah, so if you need to have your voice working, like grab that PDF. And for people who don't, what's the website again?
It's monifaharris.com. So if you can see it on the screen or in the notes,
Yeah,
it's
it'll go on the show notes.
Monifa Harris, HARRIS.com.
And you also have, I like the name of this, the Cosmic Prosperity Quest. I was like, yeah, that's what something like right there. I'm like, you just said cosmic prosperity, and I'm in. I don't even care what it is. But what is it?
Yes, it's basically tuning into our prosperity flow through our astrology. So it's about kind of recognizing that there is a flow and that energy is available for everybody. And it's just kind of this walkthrough of building that understanding, being able to access your own flow so you can recognize it and be more confident that you can enter into prosperity whenever we choose, right? So it is a combination of astrology, which I love, and voice, because we're going to be integrating, because we're not just going to get out there and pretend like, no, I know everything. It's not all about the mind, people. We're gotta get it in the body so that we will walk into prosperity and not just believe or just do the right things. The same thing. Like
Right.
it's not just about the right actions. It's about being in the energy that you want to continue to create.
That's
Right.
totally cool.
So yeah.
What just popped into my head? Oh, prosperity flow. That's what my coaching business used to be called. Prosperity flow
Really?
coaching. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And the planets align again. Stars sparkle, stardust down upon us.
That's so cool.
Right?
Yes, yes. There's a reason why, things happen. And that's why we meet cool people because we're in a flow, right? Like, and
Right?
that's something that we can be really grateful for. So
Yeah.
it excites me. I got like little feels on the body.
Yes. So cool. So cool. Oh my gosh. There's a lot. There's so much in there to talk about. And it's like I am a total geek for like, what about this and what about this? But we can't talk all day, sadly. We have to, well, we're going to honor our podcast listeners and let them run off and do the things they need to do. But before we go, so all of the connections and links and everything, friends, are going to be in the show notes for you. And I really highly encourage you to go and check those out, because you don't know what you don't know when you don't know it. So go and check it out, right?
Yeah.
I always have my mind blown. Everyone I talk to, I'm like, what? I think I know a lot of things, but then I don't. Boom, boom, boom. Firecrackers going off in my brain. But before we go, the guest always gets the final word of wisdom.
Right. Yes. My final word of wisdom is that there's a way that you do things that you want to do like other people, right? That goes back to that idea of, like, you can't be as good at being somebody else as you can be at being yourself. So what we're really looking for is not how to, make the $1 million like so-and-so, right? It's what we're looking for is how do we make $1 million? And so the answer is always inside of you. So come back to yourself to do that.
That's so cool. That's perfect. I'm not going to say anything else. Monifa, thank you so much for coming and joining us. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I feel like there's going to be a Gene Keys sometime later in the future. So stay tuned.
I would love it.
Right. Me too. Friends in podcast land, you know what I'm going to say. Give us some likes, give us some subscribes, share with your friends, do all the alls, and definitely go and check out that Cosmic Prosperity Quest. Like, holy cow, like, we could all use a way to ensure that our voices are doing what we think they should do, what we want them to do, what we intend for them to do. I'm going to keep playing until I get the right phrase. Something like that. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you so much, Heather.
Peace out, friends. Hi, my friend. Thanks so much for listening to this entire podcast. If you found it useful and you're like me and you like helping others, please feel free to share this. Give it a like, give it a comment. If you found something useful in it, there's a chance that someone else will find something useful as well. Also, if you have any questions at all, I can absolutely help, and I would love to help. You can email me at heather@prosperityflowcoaching.com. If you want more of this awesome content, you can follow me on Instagram, Heather Stewart Coaching. You can follow me on Facebook, Prosperity Flow Coaching. And I have a personal request. I want to help as many people as I can with these podcasts. And if you could give me a review, hopefully a good one, if you could share, if you could send this out into the world, I would truly appreciate it. I hope you have an amazing day, and I hope that you find your way to wellness by getting back to me. Take care, my friend.